And given that it is now 7 o'clock, I think it's safe to call this meeting to order because we do have a quorum. We have Paul Green, Tom McGinn, Marty Kane. I'm
Present.
the chairman. Today is February 1st, 2022, and we are doing a remote Zoom meeting. We have approval of the agenda. On the agenda, we have the approval of the minutes of January 18th, 2022. We have a space for public comment. Then we have a pending application, Goff Brook Farm subdivision sketch plan review. Other business, the planners report a review of the version 2.0 of the proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations concerning utilities. However, the town planner is not here. So we may end up tabling that. So a nice short agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion was made by Tom, seconded by Paul to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor? Paul,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Marty?
I wasn't there.
Oh, no, that's for tonight.
Yes, aye.
It is unanimous. The next step is public comment. Public comment is for those people in attendance at the meeting who want to bring something up that is not on the agenda. You may have something you want us to talk about, something to look at at some point in the future. If so, now is the time to let us know about it. Oh, there's Susan Roth. Joan Hull got her audio fixed. Excellent. Hearing none, we will move on to the public comments. We will go to the pending application, which I'm assuming is the reason everybody is here. This is for Goff Brook Farm, a subdivision sketch plan. Proposal to construct a 15-lot residential cluster subdivision on a 41-acre parcel located at 166 Log Cabin Road. The property is located in the R3 and shoreland zone on lot 21, tax map 38. The applicant is Porter Land Preservation LLC. The applicant's agent is Steve Dow of Sebago Technics, of Sebago Technics Incorporated. And we have Steve here. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Steve and he can walk us through his sketch plan.
Great, thank you. I guess before I get started, I just want to let the board know that our office, we're going to be filing a DEP application probably by the week's end. And as part of that process, we have to have a public informational meeting, which we had Monday, where we sent out notices to abutters. We had a notice in the paper about the meeting. Some abutters were able to connect to the link, the web Zoom meeting. Some were not able to, but they were able to provide us with questions that we had. And I received some of those questions and addressed them as best I could at the time. A lot of the people I see on this meeting were also present at that Zoom meeting or at least tried to get on. So I just wanted to let those folks know that we did hear your questions, and I had told them that probably the best place to provide input would be through this town review process, just because I think it's more information is being presented through the town. And I think it's a good venue for them to express their concerns.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm going to share the screen and kind of walk through the plan. The board has seen this in a sketch plan back in June, and we did a site walk in July. Sean Dewson was at the site walk. I was not. So this plan is pretty much the same as we had back in the sketch plan stage. It's been refined a lot more. The road's pretty much the same spot. Some of the lots down at the end here have been configured slightly different. But I can kind of walk you through this, and just, we're going to be filing the preliminary plan probably in a couple of weeks. So you'll see this again at that point. But just to kind of walk through this again and familiarize yourself with it. This is the existing farmhouse that has been sold since we were here before you. Sean Dewson's son had owned that and he sold that. This lot here is actually retained. It's not part of the subdivision. And the road is going to split the middle of that. It comes in right where the existing driveway is today. And then the road's going to snake in. We got a couple, whatever you see, these dark shaded areas, those are going to be wetland impacts. So the majority of them are in the roadway. So we got, 3 here, and then we got 1 down at the end. We have a few minor wetland impacts on these 3 lots right here. Actually, we got a little one over here too. Very minor. We're under 15,000 square feet of wetland impacts. From a storm drainage plan, we've refined that. We didn't really know what we were doing when we were here at sketch plan, but the new plan is we're capturing this whole road and the lots as far as the runoff from the lots and collecting that water and sending it to stormwater filtration basin areas. So we're going to have one right in here will be one of them, which will collect the road essentially from here all the way up to the top of the hill. We're going to have another one right here, which will collect the road from here to about here. And then we're going to have another one down at here, and that'll collect the balance of the road and also the lots that flow into this area. We've also identified where we're going to be putting wells on all the lots. And you'll be able to see this more with the preliminary application, but we actually show where every well is going to be on each of the lots. We've also done substantial soil test pits, and that's what all these little squares are on the plan. And in the application, you'll see where we're proposing all the septic fields. They're all going to be designed for 4-bedroom homes. That's not necessarily what will be built, but we wanted to design it to the maximum that we think will be built out there. And as part of that, we did a nitrate study, and that information will be in the packets too. So you can see that the project and where the septic fields are going does not create an impact to the resources around the area. As we had originally, we have a buffer area up along the top part of the property. This is probably close to 100 feet in here. We have a minimum of 50 feet, which is this area that comes down through here, and then the 50 here, and then we have a buffer along this stream. And then this is all open space, and then everything else around here is all open space as well. The other thing that Sean is hoping to do is this is kind of a very remote part of the property. And he's hoping that that could be donated or deeded to a local conservation trust. It's a fairly sizable piece of land, and we've just kind of blocked it off, bordered by Goff Brook, and then kind of this stream here is kind of another divider, and it'll encompass this area right here. So that's really all I wanted to kind of reiterate what we've done since we were here last. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or whatever else you have.
Well, I
Is
think,
that
I
a
think,
wooded area that you want to, that you were just speaking of?
So if you remember the site, this has all been kind of, I'd say it's kind of scrubby. It used to be wooded. A lot of it's been kind of cleared out. They had been logged over. And that continues about to where this stream is. This part of the site is fairly wooded. I don't think there's been much logging over there. And then this here has not been logged very much, nor has this. It's really from this brook and then in this zone here where we're developing, where the it's not a prime woodlot, I would say. It's been logged over and cleaned up.
Question?
Yes, Mr. Wood.
Yeah, this is the appropriate time for it, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. At the session that you had yesterday, Steve, if I heard you right, you made a comment about the soil tests showing that the soils were sandy. Did I hear you right on that?
Yeah, there was some, yeah, and I don't know if I have the, they were sandy, if I recall right, from what the soils survey showed.
Well, I spent some time this afternoon refreshing my memory of that area with the information from the NRCS soil survey, and unless they've done a more detailed survey since the one that I was reviewing online, both of that they're essentially two basic soil types in that area. Rhenum, if I'm pronouncing it right, is one of them. Rhenum silt loam. The other one is scantic silt loam. Both of those do have a component of sand, but very low. They tend to be clay, they're gray, they're compacted, they're miserable to work in if they get any kind of moisture, which is why that area probably stayed farmland for as long as it did, I'm guessing. And also, more to the point, perhaps, the recommendation or the analysis, if you will, of those two types of soils for uses associated with development, and specifically sewage, septic system disposal, and wells, get a D- at best in terms of suitability of those soils for that use. And I realize there is another, I mean, I know, of course, there is another development north of where this one will be going in, on the other side of the property that my wife and I own there, lot 21A. I don't know how well that's doing in terms of their water quality and supply and septic system disposal. But I guess I would just caution you folks on the planning department to give that at least some consideration. The soils that are out there, I know from firsthand experience, are miserable to even to try to get around in, at least with a vehicle, any kind of a vehicle, because they are as clay, because they are as they have such low percolation rates for water, that I know my dad, when he owned when he and my mom had purchased that place, and the earliest use one of the first uses he had put to it was as a golf driving range, and he was obliged to, and it helped with his operation, but he was obliged to put in two parallel drainage systems, which are essentially reflected on those maps where they cross, the two of them there where they cross your proposed road in.
Yep.
And yeah, and right. And apparently that helped a little bit, but even just driving around on the range after it was developed was dicey at best. And I don't know. It would be nice, I suppose it would be nice, more ideal maybe, if there were some sort of municipal waste disposal system in place, where you wouldn't have to be particularly concerned about trying to deal with the septic on each of those 14 different lots. But anyway, that's my observation, and I guess I would. I guess I would caution and at least like to see what seems to be maybe a little under preparedness going into what's going to be done with the wetness issue of that soil, specifically in regards to septic system and wells. So that's it.
Yeah, if I can respond, I thank you, Mr. Wood, and I do stand corrected. We actually filed this high intensity soil survey that we submitted under the sketch plan, and that'll also be going in with the preliminary plan. And I'm looking at it, and you are correct. There's a mixture of silt loams, which is a Lemoyne soil. And then there's some fine sandy loams. Nickelville, Roundabout, Swanton, Westbury. They all are somewhat poorly drained. And there are some poorly drained, which would be your Swantons, your wetland area ones.
Right.
So we did do an extensive soil study out there with the soil scientists. And part of the DEP thing is to do what we call a high intensity Class B soil survey. And as part of that, we found that, you're correct. There's some areas that are very poorly drained and not suitable for septic, but we did find passing areas that were suitable for septic. And we've identified those on the plan and cited the septic fields accordingly to that. The stormwater drainage plan also takes into account the quality of the soils and how well they percolate or how well they don't. So, yeah, I don't disagree with you. And I, having walked that land both summer and in spring, it's a challenging site.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't take much of a rainstorm to change. Just even being able to get around in some cases.
Yeah.
So it's.
And I think from the way the road is designed, the road is actually elevated. So it's a filled road construction, and we figure that the lots themselves will also be kind of a filled situation coming off the road. So we're not placing, these won't have basements in them because of the soil conditions.
Right. Well, I'm granted, I'm just an amateur, if you will, on this in this matter. I do have a degree a bachelor's degree in forestry, and of course, soil study was part of that. But but at any rate, I guess I would hope that the parties involved in this would be prepared enough to be able to remedy at least the lack of the parent soil material's ability to really handle septic runoff as is, with either some sort of a leach field being put in. I mean, I know that can be done. It's not inexpensive, but I think the alternative of depending, or at least believing you can depend on just what's there for the soil now, would be foolhardy.
Did I understand you correctly? When you submit the preliminary, you're going to be giving us a high intensity study, high intensity soils?
Yes, in fact, in your packet that I gave you for the sketch plan, it included a map, the high intensity soil map. But you will get that with the preliminary plan application as well. And that maps out all the soil types. And it has the soil legend, which I talked about. And then you'll also have test pit logs, so you can see what all the different, limiting factors are in the soils out there and which ones we've selected. If you actually, I'll zoom into this plan, and this particular plan, maneuver a little better here. If we look at this area here, like test pit 14, that's on a pretty high sandy knob, and that it actually lists which ones have passed for suitable soils for septic. Like we got several up in here. This one does not pass, but this one does. You know, so each lot will tell you where they pass, and they're typically on, you know, high parts of the land. So this is like a nice high knob on the land. And then as you get to the back here, we have a lot of passing soils on the back side of these lots. And a lot of that is because you got this drainage channel. So that drainage channel and it's like a ravine is pulling the groundwater down in there. So you're going to get better soils along this ridge there. And that's what we discovered in the process of investigating it. You know, up on lot one, I mean, we're showing them, you know, there are limited ones, but we do have passing test pits on each lot. In some cases, more than one.
Okay, so
And the
question,
night,
when I
ahead.
look at this, you've got test pit number 3, for example. I'm assuming that did not pass. Because
correct,
It doesn't say so.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And a lot of these test pits were done, one, to find passing soils, and then second, to determine what the soils are. So when we're doing our soil mapping, we need to do so many test pits per, you know, 100 square feet or whatever the requirement is.
Dustin's lot. I'm muted and there's no picture.
Houston? Which one's that again?
This is the lot, I'm assuming this is what the person was talking to. This is the lot that Logan Dustin owned and sold recently. And then this is another parcel that Dustin Construction owns. And it's,
Steve, this is Susan Roth.
hi, Susan.
I was a little late to the party, but I have a couple of questions. One is, so is that new owner going to be part of this? The owner that bought Logan Dustin's property, are they going to be folded into the rest of the development, or are they going to remain separate? And then my second question, which you can address later, but I can't remember who I spoke to on the site walk, but they were extremely concerned about the floodplain and the impact that it would have not only on the development, but on their property as well. And if I think it was the Haskells, but I can't recall exactly. So question one, what's going to happen to Logan Dustin's lot? Is it part of the development now? And B, what about the floodplain? Has due consideration been given to its impact, not only on the development, but on abutters?
Okay. I'd have to defer to Sean on this. I think there's limited on this, maybe some road maintenance, because they will be accessing this road here. But, you know, there'll be a homeowners association here. I don't believe this lot is part of that, but I'd have to defer to Sean when that lot was sold, how that was set up. So I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
And then for the floodplain, the floodplain would be, obviously it's along this stream in Goff Brook. The lots from what, and this plan is not as refined as the one you're going to see, but we do show a floodplain line. This is out of alignment. It's actually down here. And the lots are out of the floodplain. And we do have a stormwater management plan that, you know, will help, I guess, retain water that this project is generating, and it will capture it in these basins here. There's another one over here. There's another one over here that will help that, and it'll retain the water and release it at its current rate that it's going off the property. I don't see it as a flood problem, but the stormwater management report will discuss that in more detail.
Okay.
Essentially, the kind of just zooming out and backing up. The way this site drains is everything kind of comes from the north and it flows in this direction. And it's collected in this brook and then it gets out to Goff Brook. So we're required as part of the DEP is to capture the water from each lot and get it into these basins. So,
Okay, and the basins drain into Goff Brook?
they will actually outlet and drain into this brook here. So this one right here will drain into this brook here. This one will outlet into the brook. It actually outlet probably 75 feet to 100 feet from the brook. It's not going to be a pipe drain into the brook. It has to go through a buffer into that. Same with this one here. That'll just outlet down here in the field and it'll just surface flow into the brook. So we won't have any direct pipes into the brook.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
And I don't know if you're familiar with the soil, how the soil drainage filters work. Essentially, we're creating a basin and there's filtration pipes set in the bottom of that basin. I think they're like 18 inches down. And there's a soil medium that is placed at the bottom of the basins and the pipes are under that. So all the stormwater that will be directed to these basins and that water will have to filtrate through that soil medium to get to the outlet pipes, the perforated pipes, and then that pipe will outlet daylight at a positive outlet. So part of that process is one is to treat the water that's going into it and also cools the water. Because if you are out on a summer day when it's really hot and you get a rain, that water heats up. And that's not something that you really want to be sending to your streams, your cold water streams. So that water will get into those basins and it'll cool down as it goes through the soil to get to that under drain. So by the time it's outletting, it's at a cooler temperature, which is what the is kind of required by the DEP.
So forgive my ignorance, my last question, but the perforated pipes that go into these basins that ultimately go into the brooks that surround this property, do they have to be maintained, Steve? In
Yes.
terms of being clogged and
Yes.
and so would that be part of the homeowners association responsibility?
Correct. There's and part of the stormwater management plan, there is a maintenance plan in that on what they need to do about, making sure pipe inlets are cleaned. Vegetation, woody vegetation is not allowed to grow in those basin areas. They'll need to, if you get, saplings grown in there, they'll have to get those taken out. But there is a detailed maintenance plan.
Okay,
And where this has to go to DEP, DEP requires that these maintenance reports actually get sent to DEP, and they do check on those, on these projects. And a report has to be submitted to them, and I think it's every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Showing that they've been maintained on a yearly basis.
how big are these pipes, Steve?
I'd have to look. I think they're probably in the 6-inch diameter range. And there's a lot of pipes in the bottom of these basins. It's not just
Okay.
one pipe. It's a whole system of pipes in them.
Okey doke.
Have you talked with the fire chief about fire suppression?
I have not.
Okay,
I will do that.
yeah, because I'm sure he's going to have, well, he'll end up seeing the plans anyway and he'll have some input, but I wasn't sure if you had a chance to talk to him.
No, but I will make a note to do that.
Are you
Um,
thinking of overhead utilities or underground utilities?
Underground.
Like it.
Rich, can I ask a few questions?
Oh, absolutely, Tom.
So Steve, I just want to be clear, you might have already gone over this the last time we met, but you have 31 acres of buildable land. And I see there's 14 lots, plus the 2 that are out front. So I'm just curious, the 2 that are out front, are they part of your calculations? Are they part of this subdevelopment?
No, those are not included in those numbers.
So I know, has the property already been divided, separated?
So and I think Sean may know more about it, but this was a lot, and then this was a lot. This was owned by his son. This is owned by Dewston Construction, and the balance of the land was owned by Porter Land Preservation LLC.
Okay, so that had already been divided up previously.
Correct.
Okay, good. The other question I have is all the open space out back that you hope to deed over to a land trust. Will there be access for the public, or is it just going to be kind of landlocked?
Sean and I had met with a woman, part of the Conservation Trust. And,
That would be me, Steve.
oh, okay.
Joan.
Joan. Okay, Joan. Maybe Joan can answer it better than I can, but
Yeah.
we're currently kind of marking out this area here. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joan, but don't you have access across land from over here? Let me kind of
Yes,
zoom in.
that piece that you're looking at abuts our Clough Preserve land. So we have 47 acres. See, lot 5, that actually belongs to KCT and the Arundel Conservation Trust. So, and all
Okay.
our lands are open to the public. So it would be just, it would just enlarge the plot we already have.
But I'm glad to hear that, because having a few acres just set aside that's inaccessible, good for wildlife, but not for public.
Well, in talking to Sean, he was very cognizant of that and trying to be a multiplier and not just carve out a piece that would be an island of land.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Good to hear that.
Any other questions?
I have one briefly. Sue Senate, how are you? So I was curious, I know that you're going to be sending the more detailed soil survey. Looking at this and then remembering walking on it and having people discuss how wet it got and it went for it. You said there's going to be some fill and some for buildable situations, and we have all the test pits in different places and some that have failed and not. I just wanted to voice concern of the quality of the soil that you're actually going to be trying to put all these homes on, and look forward to reading the full versus just the sheet. Because reading that they're saying that they're just not well drainable, somewhat drainable, moderately drainable, and they're not really good quality soils, and you're putting all new construction and I understand you're putting in the drainage system. It seems quite a lot to try to make it work in a space is what I'm saying. So I look forward to seeing that in more detail than just the one sheet.
Okay.
Ginny, you had your hand up.
Yes, I spoke with Steve the other day, and I believe it was suggested that I bring my question to this meeting. I live on the other side of Log Cabin Road. My driveway comes out, I believe, just south of where this road will start in, where the driveway is. And I have a lot of concerns about the speed that's currently on Log Cabin Road. I put a call into somebody at the state today, hoping to hear back. I'm not sure who I talked to because this road, of course, divides a Rundle and a Kennebunkport. I can talk to the town of Kennebunkport. But there is a passing zone right in front of my house. The road is really crowned. And people are driving crazier than normal with this pandemic happening. They were pretty crazy beforehand. But I just want to make sure that everybody's looking at that aspect, maybe slowing everything down, getting rid of the passing zone, because you're going to be adding a lot of cars coming in and leaving through that spot. If anybody has any advice on how best I should approach this, just let me know.
I think
That
that's
would
an
come under,
MDOT question.
Department of Transportation, DOT.
Yeah,
It's their area that controls it.
okay. I'll try talking to them.
Steve, I wasn't able to be at the site walk. How far down is the driveway from where Goose Rocks Road heads off to if you're coming from Route 1 and Goose Rocks Road heads off to the left, how far down from there is the site?
Probably about a half mile, ain't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
that far?
See, I was thinking
I would
it was probably further.
It's less than half a mile, absolutely less.
huh,
Hmm.
okay.
It was, I remember my father clocked it. It was 2/10 of a mile, he said, from that used to be the entrance to the parking lot of the driving range, from there to the trolley museum, and Goose Rock Road is before the trolley museum. So it's way less than half a mile.
Yeah.
So that plays into sort of the reason I asked the question, how's sight distance right there?
Sight distance is good. We're actually on the crest of the hill there. Actually, the
Okay.
crest, sight distance is good in both directions. We have a traffic memo that'll be submitted that talks about sight distance and trip generation out there. We do have to file for a Maine Department of Transportation entrance permit, and we got that in the works. Just more for information from you. So they'll be looking at that as well.
Steve, are you planning a town road or a private road?
It's designed to town standards with the hope that, it would be accepted, but that's up to the voters, I believe. But it will meet town standards for a minor street.
Is there a cul-de-sac in there that?
Yes. Cul-de-sac at the end.
Did he hear me?
Hi, Steve. I have a question. And again, it's about the egress onto Log Cabin Road. Again, the speed and the concerns and between Scouts Way and the number of new driveways. Ritter House has a couple of units. We have several units on Pitchfork Drive. And it's not just recreational traffic, to be honest with you. It's the service delivery trucks and the dump trucks. And
Absolutely.
It is tremendous, and there's no signs, there's no indication that they really need to serve down. There's a lot of turning in and out of Log Cabin Road right now that makes it feel unsafe for bicyclists, walkers, runners, and traffic. And I know it's a DOT issue, but as a resident of Arundel right now, it's in my backyard and it's an issue. So I don't know how we address it because it is a concern.
Yeah, I'm not sure how either, because it is the state controls that road. They've done some ditch work out there, which I don't think was the best ditch work that's been done out there. But I do agree with you, the road is not in the greatest condition, and I've seen how people travel down that. But everything that goes into Kennebunkport goes down Log Cabin Road for the majority of construction trucks, service vehicles, all that stuff.
So just for clarity for me, because I know that we've talked about this a couple times, but just for clarity for myself, the two in the front are not part of the development. However, the road that connects it from the road itself of your development to the street to Log Cabin Road should be up to the spec of it. Is that going to be created to the point where it is to the same standard?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
moving forward, so that technically then is not in the development, but it is in development because they're
Yeah.
utilizing the same.
They're utilizing the same road. I'm sure there's going to be some maintenance requirements for them for the maintenance of the road. Sean Dewson will know more about that than I do, and he can weigh in as we go forward. But I think when this lot was sold, there was some conditions in the sale of that on what their involvement would be. But again, I don't know what that was.
My last question on that regard, and I apologize, it was a while ago since we went. The access to those two parcels, do they go at all directly onto Log Cabin, or will they be going directly onto this new road that you're creating?
Onto the new road. We do show, this is the driveway currently into this house, and that comes up here and it comes this way. So this house will come out into here. This one, we don't know where it's going to come out. Could probably come out down in this area, but they'll access this new road. They will not come out on Log Cabin Road.
Okay, thank you.
Steve,
So Sue,
could I just
Sorry.
have follow up on that question? That road that's going between the two existing lots, is that an easement or has been split off?
It's a right of way. The
a
lots
right-of-way.
are, yes, it's not
Okay.
part of those lots.
Which lot is granting that right away?
This back one, Porter Landings.
But the two out front, which one owns that where the road is going out front?
Neither of them own that. This right of way is owned by the backland.
So-
This lot or that lot does not own this right of way.
Okay, so, all right. So it's not an easement.
It's not an easement, it's a right of way.
Okay.
Steve, Susan Roth again. What's the signage and lighting going to be like in this community? Is there any street lighting, or is there going to be any, to the point about the speed on Log Cabin Road? And Senate Road, by the way, is right behind you in terms of speed and craziness. So are drivers going to know that there's an entrance to a larger community and that there are going to be cars going in and out? Is there going to be signage? Is there going to be lighting? What kind of indications? I know you can see Scouts Way right from
Yes.
Log Cabin because
Yeah,
there's not a lot of foliage and buffer
Yep.
in that development. Hopefully this will have more. But is there any lighting along the road, or?
Sean and I haven't really talked about it. I don't think we're planning on lighting this road. I think we want to keep it, very rural like it is out there and not put lights up. You'll probably have a driveway lamp or something like that for each lot, but not really lighting the road. Up here, knowing this road, I think it may be wise to put a light, at this entrance, just kind of a, heads up that there's a road here. There is a pole right across the way over here. I don't know if there's a light on that now. I don't think there is, but a light could be added there. But I think I think Sean will want to do something here and do some landscaping and really, play that entrance up. And then I'm kind of thinking he may try to clean up this area. This is all wooded along this section of the road here. And he does own this lot, even though it's not part of this development. I think his intent is to clean that up as well, just a little more visibility in that location.
I actually think that's a really good idea, especially at the entrance, because people turning going towards, coming down Log Cabin Road, driving towards, off of Route 1 towards Kennebunkport, you know, you could easily miss it,
Right.
especially at night. And I think it hedges a lot of problems, traffic and potential accidents if people can see where they need to turn.
I agree.
So Susan Sennett, one more time. I have a, I know that you talked about, you don't have information yet with regard to fire prevention and talking to the fire. So where would there be a cistern? Where would there be something for fire safety? And also on the plan where you're gonna mark your, we're talking about fast moving cars or turning cars and things like that. It's required to have their mail boxes. Where would you put that on this? Because you've got a starting of one development versus another, things like that. So moving forward, just for myself, seeing as a rural development for Arundel, where would those be on the next situation?
So the post office is gonna drive where the mailbox thing is, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna be somewhere probably in this location here. I don't think they're gonna want it down in here, but my guess is it's probably gonna be in here. That way it can access, these two lots. As far as fire cistern, I'll talk with the fire chief, whether he wants a cistern or is he gonna want sprinkler systems in all the buildings. And I'll talk to Sean as well about that. I haven't, talked to the fire chief. I'm not sure what his preference is, but some fire chiefs like sprinkler systems versus the cisterns. And I think it comes down to, from Sean's standpoint, what's the cost of the sprinkler system? And, is the fire chief going to be happy with that, or does he want the cistern? So, but I'll make note of that and try to get some answers on that.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions for Steve? Any idea as to timing on when you'll be ready with the prelim plan?
I was hoping it's going to be in a couple weeks, but I think based on this meeting, I got a lot of good comments from folks, so I got to do a little more homework and try to address these items before I file that plan. So you got more of a complete package and not have to answer me those questions again, So I would say, earliest would be a couple weeks, longest maybe 3 weeks. So
that would put it at March 1st. Because the next
Yes.
meeting is on the 15th, but we've got, if we haven't had the paperwork in, you'll miss the 2-week deadline, the 14-day notification.
Yep. Okay. I'll work with Lee J and find out what the break point is. And
The break point for the 15th was yesterday.
I guess we're not making that one. Okay.
Okay,
I appreciate this. This is good. A lot of good input from everybody.
excellent. We'll look forward to seeing you.
Same here. All right. Take care.
Take care.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. The only other item that was on the agenda was we were going to review version 2 of the proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations concerning utilities. If you remember at the last meeting, we said, yes, put them underground and stop it right at that point. So we don't have a lot of other wording or anything that'll go with it, but the town planner is not here today. So we'll have to table this until the next meeting.
Okay.
And I have nothing else to add to it.
Can you just make sure that I'm on the thing? Because I was like 2 minutes late. You guys started right on time. I was at 7:02 and I'm like, oh no.
Yes, yeah, I have you all down. We had a full quorum today. First time.
I
we've
know,
had
but I
one
was
in a
like
while.
7:02. I'm like, you're already talking to the person. I'm like, geez, I couldn't connect. My computer was like, no, that lovely above ground system of technology. It wasn't connecting. I was like,
Okay. Unless
Hey,
there's
did
something.
you,
the rest-
Did you review and approve the minutes of last meeting?
No, we did not.
No, we
Thank you,
didn't.
Paul.
that's what I'm saying. I
That's
wasn't
why
here
you
for
were so
that. 'Cause it just, you
fast.
skipped over the part. I'm like, wow, they're
Yeah.
already into the meat and potatoes. What the heck?
There wasn't a lot and we did skip the minutes. Thank you, Paul. So approval of the minutes of January 18th.
So moved.
Motion was made by Susan Roth,
Second,
seconded by Susan Sinnet.
One correction,
Yes, sir.
I was attending. That's the only way I made those motions.
Oh, your name's not on
That's
there?
probably true. But whatever it's worth, Paul, I have you down as having been in attendance.
that's funny.
I couldn't have made those morning, the second without being there, so. Other than that, I have no comments.
Any other comments? Hearing none. Those in favor, Paul,
Hi.
Susan Roth,
Aye.
Jamie? Oh, you're muted, Jamie. But I saw your lips move. I'm assuming you said yes.
Aye, sorry, I had
That's
company
okay.
in the room for a minute.
Susan Sinnet,
Hi.
Marty?
I wasn't there.
That's true.
Yep.
Tom?
I abstain.
Aye.
It is one abstention and 6 in favor.
So I have one question about the minutes. So I'm gonna write these minutes up, but Susan Sinnet, as you pointed out in the email, that we thought we discussed that it's really minimal. It's who attended, who made the motions, and that's it. Am I right with that?
Yes, it is. It's basically you want to say, well, who made the motion and what was its basic content, So like Susan made a motion to accept the minutes of the 18th.
Okay,
The vote was 6 in favor, 1 abstention, and that's it.
okay. And
Everything else is, if you want to know the details, watch the video.
It's on the video. Good. That makes it easy.
Yeah, it does.
Like, as long as you have the public attendees as best you can of who is speaking.
Yeah,
Do you mean like the best you can? Because you just had Zoom person, but I mean the best you
yeah,
can.
that's.
You can say a
that's what-
butter spoke or something like that, so that way you can
Yeah.
have it be followed through, but then they can check to see what they said.
Yeah,
Okay,
because one of them,
good.
like Maggie just said she was a Zoom user.
Yeah, she was a Zoom person, but she did say who she was, so I have her name. But there was someone with just a phone number,
Yeah,
Right.
and
but that's, I'll just put that down.
that
public
created such
attendee.
an echo that we had the muting.
Yeah. And there was no public discussion this time.
Nope,
Okay,
that was a good meeting.
we like them short.
Well, I like it when abutters show up and they want to ask questions about what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. Bring up some issues that we may not be aware of.
Yeah,
They were on the sidewalk too.
Yeah,
We had a good turnout of abutters on the sidewalk.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember anything about the soils on the sidewalk. It was more about buffering and.
I remember a lot of discussion about moisture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
floodplain moisture buffering.
And the traffic out in Log Cabin that,
Yeah,
Yep.
that one's gonna be interesting.
Can I
Yeah.
ask a point of question of a person who's new to the planning board? So when we have a business moving into something, we have them do a transportation study. When we're having a subdivision, we do not.
Correct.
Okay.
Because they'll go to DOT and DOT will tell them whether they can, if they can do a curb cut and they can get out.
I think we can request one.
Yeah, but like a residential subdivision, there's a pretty standard rule of thumb. I think it's 10 trips a day per house lot.
Yeah,
So it's a trip is either coming in or going out. So 5 round trips. So that's a pretty established convention. And typically with like a traffic movement permit or a traffic study, a lot of the concern is the trips at a peak hour.
Okay,
So if you had a convenience store or a Dunkin' Donuts or drive-through
Donuts
of
and
some
stuff
sort
like
like that, you're worried about what that peak time frame is going to be and the peak hour is sort of the terminology they use for that peak time frame that you're going to have the most traffic impact, and that's what they a lot of times will make you plan around.
okay. So that's why I was curious when they were discussing the road itself, having a pass there because there was nothing there previously to make a traffic or concern crash issue because it was a field. So now that there's a pass lane there and there's going to be a housing, people coming in and out, that becomes a DOT issue versus anything we have to do.
Well, no, not necessarily. What is the magic number, Jamie? Do you remember? Is it 200 trips?
In the peak hour,
Yeah,
I think it might be 100 trips in the peak hour might trigger that threshold, where you wouldn't expect that many in a residential subdivision to get anywhere close to a subdivision of this size to get anywhere close to that.
But do you understand what I'm saying to you is that because there is now your ability to pass in front of this area because it was just field.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that would
And now you
be
can-
addressed in the DOT's driveway
Okay.
permit that Steve mentioned that they had applied for.
Okay, that was my question of just of
Yeah.
a novel person, just novice.
Because you're right. They may have to adjust how they have that passing zone. Who knows what may play into that or not.
But that's not us because it's a residential versus a business and all that stuff for acceptance and DOTs dealing with that, not would we?
Well, it's, if it was, say, instead of Log Cabin Road, if it was Limerick Road and it was a passing zone, it might go to Roger to deal with,
Because it's a
from
state
the
versus-
actual road standpoint versus us.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
The issue is that this is 14 houses, there's 10 more, 100
Oh, yeah.
north. There's probably going to be another one, or 2 or 3 or 4. And what's the tipping point? So it's probably not there yet, but by the time we're there, it's too late. It's not fair for the next one putting in 5 houses to put in a passing lane.
but like Jamie was saying, since this is a state road, that's going to be on MDOT.
Yeah,
Because somebody's going to come along at some point and say, well, I want to put in 5 or 10 houses and DOT is going to go, no. There's enough traffic on that road. You can't put in more.
So it's
It'll
truly
be
a state
interesting.
versus town issue in a sense then.
No, I'm sorry, Susan, I didn't understand what you said.
I was gonna say, so it's really a state versus town issue because of the place of where this is going to be on a state road versus like
Because
you
it's
said.
going to
a
be on
town
a
road.
state road, yes.
Okay,
The other interesting point is also, you got one town on one side of the street and then
Yeah.
you got Arundel on the other.
Yeah,
yeah. The town line is the center line of the road.
Yes. And the other question is, they said about mail, they're gonna put like a gang box,
Yep.
but how does that work between you got all the FedEx and everything else dropping in and out? Do they still go to the houses?
they
FedEx
would.
does.
FedEx and UPS does.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking of the gang box and mail. That's why I
That's a-
was asking.
That's actually a postal regulation
That's a federal regulation at this
We're-
point.
where they want a gang box on subdivisions.
Okay. I was just asking. I didn't,
They think it'll speed up the mail delivery, but it sure can't slow it down.
I just was asking where they were putting placement because if they're saying those 2 houses are not part of the subdivision, why are the gang box in front of that part of the subdivision?
Well, they must be getting their mail there, Susan. I assume
Correct.
that
But I'm
they
saying,
put it there, but yeah.
but then aren't they really in the subdivision? Do you see
Well,
what I'm
that's
saying? It
why
seems
I
like
asked the
a,
question
oh,
about
whoopsie-doo.
The lot that was just sold.
To a
I
degree.
mean, is
and
it part of the
to-
subdivision or not?
Well,
That's
as,
what I'm saying.
as,
That affects your
was
trip
pointing out,
things.
To a degree, they're going to have to be part of the road maintenance because that's their access to their property.
Right.
That's why I kept asking how they're doing that. So they have to factor that into their trips. They have to factor that into their, to their the fire department. They have to factor
Yep.
it out. They say, oh, no, it's not part of it, but yet they're utilizing everything of it. So is it or
Yeah.
not?
That could-
You know, that brings up an interesting question. Currently, do those two lots naturally enter and exit to log cabin?
No,
Yeah.
they enter from that driveway. But
Well,
that
the
driveway
driveway
is not
isn't
up to
really there
standard.
yet, right?
See,
So
that
that,
existing
the
right
log
away was,
cabin,
the
e-
existing right of way was there. And
It
that's
is
what they
there.
were using to access those two lots and that one big lot out back, which is now gonna be 16.
the subdivision.
Right.
So Paul, did they, but so they wouldn't enter and exit off of log cabin?
No, he said that
Coming in
clearly. They
off that
would.
one right away.
They would turn
Oh.
in and then get onto, okay.
So, hey, Rich,
Yes, sir.
we've ventured from a general DOT type of
Yeah,
conversation into
to talking
project
about it,
specific
really.
stuff, and I think we should
Mhm.
settle back on that a little bit.
I agree.
Thank you.
We are being recorded, but yeah, it's still this, it's a public
The applicant's
situation.
not with us, so.
That's right. The applicant's not here.
Right.
And that's the issue more than anything. Okay.
Move
Anything
to
else?
adjourn. Oh, you got something?
No, I got
Oh.
nothing.
I second Tom's move to adjourn.
In that case,
Okay.
all those in favor? Or better yet, is
Aye.
there anybody opposed?
No.
It was great to see everybody. I always learn so much when I stick around on these.
Thanks for joining us.
You'll have to
Good to
talk
see you, Joan.
the applicant.
Take
on that
care.
one.
Bye,
You
Joan.
too.
All right,
Take care, everyone.
All right, good night.
good night.